Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new work week out there so far. It's going to be a very busy week as far as the weather. A powerful storm system is going to sweep across most of the country and with it bring multiple days of severe weather, and then there's going to be a blizzard side to this storm system. Now, the blizzard side is going to be tricky to figure out. We know there's going to be a large area of the country that's going to experience high winds, but I think trying to figure out the accumulation as far as snowfall, that's going to be pretty tricky, but we're going to try to figure out everything that we can here, get as detailed as possible. I will most likely make another video tonight. Most likely, I don't want to guarantee or anything like that, but I want to fine tune things, especially the winter weather side of things. But the first thing we'll speak on in this video is the severe weather side of things. We'll get detailed. We'll talk about really tonight's weather, which, we do have a risk of severe weather from right now technically all the way until tomorrow morning, but this really won't unfold until after the sun goes down in the southern plains for tonight. So we'll speak on that, then we'll talk about tomorrow's severe weather threat, and we'll kind of mix that in with Wednesday's severe weather threat. Then we'll switch to the blizzard side. Then we'll talk about today's weather. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Have not got to any of the weekend comments, so I will get to that later this afternoon, as I'm sure I've missed a lot of things like prayer requests and just questions, things like that. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest outlook as of around about 6:30 Eastern time. This will update here in about an hour or two. And I do want to tell you right off the dot, I could see this going to an enhanced risk for certain areas, and I'll speak on why here in a second. But as of right now, a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather in this yellow. That's a slight risk. And then that dark green, that's a marginal risk. This expands all the way up to north of Manhattan, Topeka, all the way down to, San Angelo and south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then we got the general risk of thunderstorms around it. I could see this going to an enhanced risk, which would show up in orange. I do think these storms are going to be quite powerful later tonight. And like I said, if we get all the way to this evening, you're having dinner, tucking the kids, to sleep, saying goodnight and everything, and like, man, the weather people got it wrong. Well, this doesn't really unfold until later tonight. I want to reiterate that for the 100th time between this video and yesterday's video. This does not really unfold until later tonight. So slight risk up. What is driving this? Tornado threat. There is a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location, basically from Oklahoma City down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and everybody in between, this brown area. And the green area, that's a 2% risk of a tornado from Wichita all the way down to San Angelo, almost all the way down to Waco. And just kind of zooming into this area for you guys right here. And then the risk of damaging winds, I could see this increasing. As of now, just a 15% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in this yellow area. Okay, and then you got the 5% risk in the brown. I could see this going to a 30% chance of winds exceeding the 55 to 60 mile per hour area. So if we do go to an enhanced risk, it'll be for tonight, and I think it'll be driven off winds, maybe even tornadoes. We'll see what happens. As of now, they're keeping it at a slight, and I could see that for sure. And then we look at hail, just a 5% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So we go back to this, and let's go on and break down day 2. Okay, so there is an enhanced risk up still. This hasn't really went one way or the other for the last several days, honestly. They were honking the horn at a enhanced risk several days ago, and they've kept it about that. Now, does this upgrade to a moderate risk? I'm not sure. As of now, I like it staying in an enhanced risk based off what I'm seeing. But from basically Little Rock, back over to Meridian, down to Hattiesburg, down to Baton Rouge pretty much, over to Shreveport, and everybody in between in this orange area, there is enhanced risk as of right now for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Level 3 out of 5 risk. Now we zoom this back out. If you live in this yellow area, that's a slight risk, level 2 out of 5. New Orleans, over to Montgomery, Mobile, Pensacola, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Florence, Huntsville, Memphis, over to Fort Smith, almost up to Fayetteville, and pretty much including a good chunk of eastern Texas. Now, we do have the marginal risk around it in the dark green, and this actually extends all the way up to Kansas City, Topeka. So what's driving this as of now? We got a pretty large 10% area of a tornado. So in this yellow area, I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can here. In the yellow area, you have a 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location, okay? Pretty much in the entire enhanced area. Now, if you look at the outlined in the black area with the black dashes going in between, that means there's also, not added on, but there's also a 10% risk of a strong tornado, EF2 or higher. Okay, so, and what the Storm Prediction Center considers a strong tornado is that EF2 or higher. So, Jackson, Monroe, Alexandria, down to Macomb, Jackson, over to Shreveport, there's a 10% risk of a strong tornado. And then you got the 5% risk of a tornado in the brown area, 2% risk in the green, which does extend all the way up here through Kansas City and Topeka. Don't want to ignore that. And the wind threats. In the red, that is a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. But there's also a hatch risk for wind too, guys. So that means there's a risk of significant winds. So you have a shot here at winds exceeding 65 to 70 miles per hour within 25 miles of a given location. I mean 70 to 75 miles per hour. So technically 65 knots or higher. So definitely, you know, you got to take this serious. And it says it great right here. 30% risk of winds exceeding that 55 to 60 miles per hour, 10% risk of significant winds. And then you got the 15% risk around that, which is in the entire yellow area right into here. And then the risk of hail, just in this entire yellow area, you have a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Now we will switch it to day 3. Just a pretty large slight risk. I mean, it expands all the way up to the DC, Baltimore area. Even includes a very small section of PA all the way down here to southeast Georgia. If you live in this area, there's just a 15% risk of severe weather. What is that severe weather going to be? It'll probably be driven off damaging winds, but there will probably be a little bit of a tornado threat in this area too. Now, we'll note that the marginal risk extends all the way up to Lake Erie. I mean, Erie, Buffalo, Cleveland, you got a marginal risk of severe weather, so we could have some severe storms up here too. But right now, we don't know what's driving this. It'll probably be a 15% risk of winds, and you'll probably get a 2 or 5% risk of a tornado if I had to guess right at this second. So let's break it down. Let's talk about tonight's severe weather. So we're going to start this off. It says 9 p.m. right here, but this is in Eastern time, so back to something 1 hour. 8 p.m. This is 9 p.m., okay? 10 p.m., 11 p.m., then boom. You see how storms just pop up right here in southern areas of Kansas, and this pops up kind of east of Woodard, and then this begins to sweep. It develops rapidly into a line of storms. At this point, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. Storms are sweeping through western and central areas of Oklahoma, starting to move into southeastern areas of Kansas, Emporia, and then this continues, and I mean, it's vigorous. I mean, it develops pretty quickly downstream on the southern end of this. We got nasty storms moving through Abilene, Wichita Falls. These storms are starting to sweep through Oklahoma City. It's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, guys, so it's pretty late. And then this continues, and I think this line continues to strengthen. And then it begins to knock on the door of the Dallas-Fort Worth area around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then these storms are sweeping through the entire, basically, eastern sections of Oklahoma, starting to move into Tulsa. I was getting the name mixed up in my head. Starting to sweep through southeastern Kansas. And then look how strong these storms are around 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I mean, it is going to be a loud morning in eastern Oklahoma through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, starting to move in. It's starting to get into the Arklatex area. And then these storms start to blast into southwest areas of Missouri. They start to move into western Arkansas and starting to move into southwestern Arkansas, northwestern Louisiana, and then we'll talk about Tuesday here in a second. But these storms will develop pretty fast, and they'll get strong quick. Like, watch, just nothing going on about 10, 11 p.m. Then boom, everything goes crazy. I mean, especially around midnight and after, I would say. And then you can see the snow and the cold air following right behind it. So, as far as the risk of these storms spinning, a risk of a tornado. So just because you live in one of these little slashes of blues or greens or yellows, I don't mean you're definitely going to get a tornado. Just indicating by this run of the the HRRR model, the HRRR model, it's trying to tell us where it thinks you'll have rotating thunderstorms. And it makes sense because it's highlighting that area that has a slight risk and a 5% risk of a tornado. But you got it up here too, and southern and southeast areas of Kansas, right through the heart of Oklahoma, all the way through northern and northeast areas of Texas. And this goes through about 9 o'clock in the morning Tuesday, tomorrow morning. So you can see the area where it's highlighting the risk of spinning storms. So a risk of one of these storms producing a tornado. And this is going to be in the middle of the night, dangerous. Okay, and then this is also going to be embedded in a line of storms. So even if it was during the day, it would be very tough to see this. Now, this is the HRRR model as far as max wind gusts. Sometimes these short-range models overdo these wind gusts, but there's going to be some strong gusty winds. As soon as these storms develop, I mean, we're going to have probably the opportunity for 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. I mean, it's really getting it going around and just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area through northeast Texas. I mean, we got this area of 60, 70 mile per hour winds. I'm not sure if it's going to be that bad, but like I said, if we do get an upgrade to an enhanced risk, I really think it'll be driven off winds. Kind of I mean, if I had to guess, I would have to say it would have to be for what happens like in the wee hours of the morning, tomorrow morning. And I mean, I would say it would have to be like in this, oh, come on. It would have to be in this area, maybe right into here. If I had to guess, an enhanced risk for winds. That's just my guess. So, please be mindful of this. Now, getting into Tuesday, okay, now I want to show some love to the rest of eastern Texas too. So this is like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, right? If you live in eastern Texas, these storms will be sweeping through early in the morning. I mean, it's not going to be really an afternoon thing. Really, your risk of severe weather, for what we just broke down for Tuesday, is really for what happens tomorrow morning. So you'll be getting some nasty storms, damaging winds, a tornado threat. And I do think by the time we make it into about midday, it's done for eastern Texas. I mean, even western Arkansas. But let's go on and take a wide look. I just kind of want to show some love to eastern Texas because this geographical vantage point doesn't really show eastern Texas. So let's restart it here around 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to try to mention time frames. Very messy storms already moving into central Arkansas. We got storms moving into Shreveport and western Louisiana. Then we'll stop it here. This is around lunchtime tomorrow. We got this embedded line of basically embedded severe line of storms right here. And then we got a lot of just thunderstorms, clusters of rain. It's not a well put together severe weather event. It's very messy, is what we say in the weather community. But if you look down here in Louisiana, you see how kind of some of these storms have like a hook to them, almost like a kidney bean look to it. These are the ones you want to watch out for. They're tapping into a little bit better surface moisture, a little bit better overlapping ingredients, and these are the ones you watch out for tornadoes, especially as you get into like southern Arkansas and Louisiana, like early tomorrow afternoon. And then we take it to about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. These storms are starting to move through the Boot Hill, Missouri. Jonesboro starting to move into Memphis. We got heavy rain beginning to move into western Tennessee, even western Kentucky. And these storms are sweeping through the Delta region and starting to move to the eastern side of the Mississippi. But like I said, you see how this is kind of hooking down here. Some of these storms, these are the ones that are going to produce the opportunity for a tornado. These blast through Jackson. They start to move through the entire state of Mississippi, like all through the middle to later portion of tomorrow afternoon. Nasty storms moving through like Baton Rouge around 4 or 5 o'clock. And then they start to knock on the doorstep of, say, like Memphis. Well, they've already moved through Memphis. What I meant to say was Nashville. They start to move into Meridian, Hattiesburg around 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. And then the storms start to move into Birmingham. We'll get some heavy rain at first, but it's like this is around 7 o'clock, right? See, look at these storms down here, like in the bayou. They're starting to hit Gulfport, Biloxi, starting to move into Mobile. And I do think, they'll start to lose some steam maybe as they move into Alabama. Maybe it's around 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. Storms are making their way through the entire state of Alabama, middle Tennessee. Probably not packing as much of a punch, but still very strong winds. And then these continue. And, the line looks to hold together for the most part. In fact, we get to about midnight tomorrow night, and these storms are still ongoing. Southeast Alabama, like Montgomery points east. Some of these storms still look very strong, starting to move into the panhandle of Florida And this is after midnight tomorrow night. And then we stop it right here. And this is about as far as we can go on the HRRR model. But I'll kind of show an extension of this here in a second. In fact, we can actually look at the NAM. And kind of looks about the same. Just some messy looking storms moving to Atlanta. Strong winds. Maybe a quick spin up. But I do think the tornado threat begins to die off. Look at the flurries. Light snow in northwestern Arkansas as we're waking up Wednesday morning. I do think that is very possible. But if you're looking at the updraft Felicity swap between now and about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday, Tuesday night into Wednesday, it really highlights the area into Louisiana, southwestern Mississippi, in that this is the exact area right here in northern Louisiana. Areas of Mississippi, even southern Arkansas, where you do have that 10% risk of a strong EF2 tornado. And it makes sense based off what the HRRR model is showing as far as these rotating updrafts. And then you look at the winds. I mean, even if you don't get a severe thunderstorm, the winds are going to be very strong in this area. I mean, look at the Cumberland Plateau, gusting to 60, 70 miles per hour. With a low pressure that's very strong north of this area, I mean, you're just going to get a solid wind field. Not just aloft above your heads, but at the surface too. So very strong winds associated with the storms. But even outside the storms, you're going to get strong gusty winds. Now, this is probably a little overdone. It's probably worst case scenario, but I do think you're going to get 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. In fact, if we look at the National Weather Service forecast through this area, it's definitely not as crazy as what the HRRR model showed. But still, I mean, going for 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gust, top wind gust in this area. So very strong winds. Now, if we continue to move into the southeast up into the mid-Atlantic, now what I think is going to happen with this, and I think we're just not in range really, in good range of some of these short range models. We are kind of in range of the NAM, but not completely. But as we're starting to get into, like, this is 4 o'clock in the morning, these storms will be making their way through Georgia, the panhandle of Florida. And then by the time we're waking up Wednesday morning, and this is the slight risk area for the eastern seaboard. The storms are starting to get east of the Appalachian Mountains. Could be packing some gusty winds, maybe a brief tornado. And then, the jury is still out whether these storms kind of sweep in fast enough, or we'll get some more thunderstorms that will develop kind of east of the Appalachian Mountains. But I can tell you, based off experience, and this is me throwing my own opinion into this, when you're kind of banking on storms to form after the main push of weather, a lot of times that doesn't work out. Maybe the ingredients do build into the area, but a lot of times there's just not enough lift to get these thunderstorms going. But, if you live in the eastern sections of North Carolina, southeast VA, hey, watch out Wednesday afternoon. These storms do look like they kind of gain some steam back and could pack a punch with some damaging winds, maybe a brief tornado. And just, does any kind of storms develop kind of east of the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia, North Carolina? And I mean, and guys, I do think there will be a little bit of storm activity in this little time frame up here in like Ohio too. Like here's the storms. This is like Wednesday morning, and there's probably going to be some sort of cold core setup. Low pressure right here. You'll probably get a slither of moisture that builds right into this region right here. And you see these kind of splotches of orange and red. I do think there'll be a sneaky severe weather threat to PA and these areas. It's what we call cold core setup, mainly driven off the colder dynamics, which is a thing, by the way. But we get into Wednesday evening. I mean, look at these storms moving into like southern New England, and I think this will mainly be just very strong winds. So we'll watch out for that, guys. But as far as those winds, folks, I mean, this is serious. I mean, up in the southern Appalachian Mountains, at the Smokies, the Blue Ridge, I mean, there's going to be some strong winds up to close to like hurricane force wind gusts up here. Mount Mitchell's going to be going crazy. Clingman's Dome, I mean, Mount LeConte, it's going to be very strong winds up into these areas. Definitely a windstorm. So be aware if you live in these areas that after when these storms are moving in, you guys get highly impacted by these winds because it's going to be very strong. I mean, if you live a few thousand feet up, you could get 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts, much stronger once you get several thousand feet up. So you look at the strong winds up into North Carolina too, and if we look at the mid-Atlantic here, the winds will be quite gusty across the mid-Atlantic. Coastal regions of Maryland and the Tidewater, very strong winds into the mountains of Virginia and West Virginia, out in Long Island, maybe a 30, 40 mile per hour wind gust likely. So, yeah. But switching to the winter weather side of things, guys, and we've been talking about this, the potential for a blizzard, and here it is. That's a blizzard warning for areas of North Platte, northeast Colorado, section of Nebraska here, Ray included. It's very splotchy. Very, very splotchy. It's tripping me out how splotchy this winter weather event is. We got winter storm warnings up in the Rockies, some winter storm warnings just south of Denver. A little bit of an enhancement. Confidence is much higher for accumulating snow south of Denver. But look how Denver's surrounded by winter weather alerts. Just a weird event. Kind of one of those events where I even learn off of. And I'm always learning, guys. But, winter storm watches in this kind of teal color up for Omaha, Lincoln. Almost down to Topeka, guys. A winter storm watch is even up for St. Joseph. A winter storm watch is up for Des Moines. And I wouldn't be surprised we get some alerts down in this area too with some of the model guidance we're seeing. We could get this banding of snow down into Missouri. And I'll show you that here in a second. But winter storm watches do expand all the way up to pretty much the southern and eastern suburbs of Minneapolis. But you guys aren't quite in that winter storm watch. Rochester, all of southern Minnesota included into this, and then Eau Claire into western areas of Wisconsin, winter storm watches are up, and then it stops here where confidence of course drops off. But I do think the UP of Michigan, you guys are probably going to get some winter storm watches soon, especially the western UP. But this is a big storm. Now, one thing you're not seeing here is all the wind alerts. If you live in this kind of brown color right here, this is high wind watches. We got high wind warnings and more of this almost lighter shade of brown. Yeah, so just weird shade of brown. But anyways, we have a lot of wind alerts, red flag warnings in this hot pink color or purplish pink color. But this is a typical look when you have a trough ejection across the middle of the country. So high and windy event there. Just want to show you guys that. But looking at the system, we're just going to take a look at the Euro. Okay, latest 06Z Euro. Here's the strong low pressure forming right here, and this is for tomorrow morning. We got rain beginning to switch to heavy snow in eastern Colorado, some snow all the way down into northeastern New Mexico. Could be pretty heavy too, and we could get a wintry mix all the way down to the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. And then, as we're starting to get to about midday Tuesday, you see this corridor of snow. Could be quite heavy. We got just scattered snows across South Dakota and Wyoming and Colorado. And then check this out. Watch as this develops. Look at this, becomes the dominant low pressure. 986 millibar low Tuesday evening, tomorrow evening. And see how splotchy it is? It's like the initial low books it, weakens, and this kind of corridor of snow begins to, in response, weaken. But we do got some heavy snow falling all the way back to sort of northwestern Kansas. But I want you to watch kind of what happens right into this area. The snow kind of cuts off. It kind of gyps this area right here of Nebraska. And it makes sense because if we look at this, probably why they don't have winter storm watches up for like Kearney and Lexington. The confidence is just kind of lower there because you just had a moisture disbursement, if you will. Now, as we're getting into Tuesday night, an all-out blizzard cranks up across areas, all the way down, guys, into like Kansas City. This rain rapidly switches to snow, and it's snowing like crazy in Kansas City. Look at this darker shade of blue. It's snowing in Omaha, Lincoln. Rain rapidly switching to snow in Des Moines and all of western Iowa. Rain switching to snow. Might just be all snow up into Rochester. It's snowing up into Minneapolis, snowing up into northern areas of Wisconsin. But where you got this low pressure and the backside winds, tight gradient, this is a blizzard. This is a flat-out blizzard, guys, right into here. Blizzard conditions. So, even though you're going to get blizzard conditions into this area too, I think we'll get blizzard warnings issued for this area too. Now, the winds aren't going to be as strong in this area as it is over here, but still strong enough for long enough, I would say, to prompt blizzard warnings. Now, let's get this going. Okay, we're starting to get into, this is like Wednesday morning. The snow is kind of oozing all the way down to the Ozarks of Arkansas and Missouri. It's snowing all the way down to Springfield. It's snowing, in Topeka. It's snowing for almost all northern Missouri. It's heavy snow, all-out winter storm in Des Moines. Snowing very hard in Eau Claire, still snowing in Minneapolis. Rochester getting an all-out snowstorm. This is really trending into a much more high-impact winter storm. In fact, I mean, I would honestly say, I was talking to my buddy Bryce and his girlfriend Paige, which are storm chasers. They storm chase together, power couple out there doing the thing. And they're thinking about covering the blizzard. And heck, I don't blame them. I mean, look at this. This is your classic looking blizzard look. Wednesday morning, 981 millibar low, right outside of Rockford. I mean, near, Janesville. I mean, this is heavy snow. Now, someone's going to have a brutal cutoff here. Snow weather fans, somebody might get trapped on the rain side of this, but this is just that Comet Head classic look of very heavy snow. Snowing like crazy up in areas of the UP of Michigan, but some areas might hang on to rain. But then the system, is moving in. Milwaukee, Chicago, you would stay all rain, very windy rain. But this is the potential for a blizzard up here in Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. This is Wednesday midday, and then, wrap around cold air. We'll get some snow showers ongoing probably a late Wednesday night into Thursday morning across the Ohio Valley. And then finally, it's done. Then we're going to get a weird system behind this that gets going too. And we'll talk about that more when we can. There's just so much other stuff to talk about. Now, snowfall. Now, this is that run of the Euro I just showed you. It shows it well. Look how splotchy it is in Nebraska. And then you got this corridor of snow right here. Well, we have blizzard warnings, but I mean, this is going to be a tough enough to figure it out as it is. Give your local meteorologist in the Plains grace, guys. It's going to be a tough snowfall forecast. But check out how it gets going across the Ohio Valley. This isn't an exact forecast. It's just one run, but it shows kind of the extension of snow. It wants to dump a few inches of snow down into Kansas City. Even a little bit of accumulating snow all the way down to Springfield. But I mean, look at the heavy snow into Omaha, Lincoln, and then it really gets going in like the western half of Iowa, where you get like an area that gets 6 to 10 inches of snow. Rochester gets, it's kind of the same thing, 8 to 10 inches of snow. And then look at the UP, guys. I mean, look at northern Wisconsin. I mean, over a foot of snow. And for once, this isn't lake effect snow. This is just a good old-fashioned March, I mean, downright blizzard. So this is a big event. And the blend of all models connects the dots right in here a little bit better because it blends all guidance together. But, it does kind of point out in Colorado that little snow hole, which is, I mean, probably why, you have literally a winter weather alert hole right here. And, the blend of all models picks that up pretty well. Laramie Range gets hit. The foothills south of Denver gets hit. And then northeast Colorado and the Rockies get hit. But Denver itself, not that much, but it shows where the heaviest snow is. Now, if we look, and we're going to zoom into all those individual graphics that we like to look at, the National Weather Service forecast through Thursday morning, it highlights this area right up here the most, upper Midwest. And then it gets really fuzzy as we get right in the middle, and then there's higher confidence in here. But there's that snow gap right in here. So, the chances to see 4 inches or more of snow on the Euro from last night, it's a pretty decent, over 50% right here in kind of areas of eastern Colorado, and even northwestern Kansas. I mean, maybe Goodland can get some accumulating snow, and then of course southwestern Nebraska over a 50% chance. But watch how it kind of drops off as you continue to move this forward, and then it really spikes. Des Moines points like west. I mean, over an 80% chance to see 4 inches of snow near Rochester. 80 to 90%, and then, I mean, you pretty much got a 100% chance up here in northern Wisconsin and in areas of the UP. I mean, this could be one of your biggest winter storms of the winter season. I mean, it's in March, just as far as when you combine the winds and the snow. And here's the winds, and this only goes out through Wednesday evening, guys. I mean, very strong winds, obviously, where the storm really cranks up, and, I mean, it makes sense why they have a blizzard warning up for areas in Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas. I mean, you're going for 50 to as much as 65 mile per hour wind gusts in this area. Very strong winds for the southern high plains. You won't get any moisture, so a fire danger will be here in areas of New Mexico and Texas and Oklahoma. But, if you look at, say, the Euro, as far as these winds, you can tell where you are probably going to get the most accumulating snow. It begins to drop off. As far as winds, but still very strong winds. And I think it's going to be enough, especially back into Iowa, to pump out blizzard warnings. I do think that these areas right in here in Iowa, you guys are going to get upgraded to blizzard warnings into here. That's my opinion. It might start off as winter storm warnings, but I do think you'll get blizzard warnings. Okay, very strong winds. And then you look at the fire danger for today into tomorrow morning. You're at extreme risk right now in this area. So the fire danger, if you live in this entire area, it's serious. Take it serious. So, today's weather. Gonna zip through this pretty quick because we've already covered a segment of today's weather with the severe weather, but we're gonna get some rain showers into Louisiana from the leftovers of the system from yesterday. Some of these rain showers will, drift into western Mississippi, but the southeast in general is a pretty quiet day of weather. Northeast, maybe some snow showers drifting around in certain areas where the short range models doesn't really reflect it. We've got this little thin layer of moisture that'll swing through areas of southern Ontario, maybe delivering a brief wintry mix. And then tomorrow morning could wake up to maybe just a cold rain or a brief wintry mix in western areas of New York. Outside of that, I mean, the next 24 hours is pretty quiet in the Northeast. It's not going to be quiet once we get into tonight. We've already discussed this. If you're wanting to know what's happening tonight in the Southern Plains, I have a segment for it. But we'll watch out for those storms in Kansas, Oklahoma, and northern, almost said Florida. I haven't done that in a while. Northern Texas, and then the winter weather event will crank up overnight tonight in areas of Colorado, and we could have a convective element to this snow. See how we have these thunderstorms right here? We could get some thunder snow into areas of Colorado, southwest Nebraska, and northwest Kansas later on tonight, really into tomorrow morning. So if we look up here in the north central U.S., quiet for the first 18 hours. We're going to have this weird little thin area of moisture that'll swing through. This could deliver a burst of rain, maybe a brief wintry mix, and then we're going to start to get a solid feed of moisture. So by the time we're after midnight tonight, just rain begins to move into Wisconsin, the northern half of Illinois, a rainy night, waking up to just widespread rain, even some thunderstorms maybe as far north as western Illinois, heck, even eastern Iowa and the northern Missouri. And then the big storm system moves in for tomorrow. Out west, we'll just have this spinning low, which is our storm system. This delivers some snow across the Rockies, and then another system will move in and weaken out here. But snowfall with this system between now and the next 48 hours. Just a kind of a zoomed in look at Utah and Colorado here. And then temperatures still locked in. It's a very cold temperatures in New England. It warms up decently quick as you get further southwest. A warmer day across the deep south. Still cool across the mid-Atlantic and upper southeast. And this is temperatures out west. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there with the severe weather. And I will most likely have a video tonight. So